What's going on, Twitch and YouTube? Welcome to episode 16 of the U.S.S. CERRITOS tutorial. I'm Zerly, and I just want to thank you very much for tuning in to today's episode. If you haven't, please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button and helping me in supporting the channel. I can't thank you enough for that. Today we've got about a 26-minute video. We're going to be trying to wrap up, closing in the rest of our lower hull so we can move on to get some other stuff and things done later on this week. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into it. Pretty excited to jump into this one. First build on Minecraft of 2021. Well, first episode. And we're going to be starting to fill in some of these areas here. I'm basically going to be going around this V line right here. And you're going to hear me mention this a couple of times, the V on the lower side. And it's this piece right here that I'm talking about. And basically what I'm about to make sure is that this is going, basically has a border along the dark gray all the way around. These areas up here would be a little bit trickier, but in the center down here, you're going to notice that you'll have, there's one block up that you can add to fill all this stuff in. So at least in this center portion here for the dark gray, if you want to go ahead and fill that in now, feel free to do so. The sides here will be a little bit trickier. Don't worry, I'll go over that with you. But definitely want to get this done before we close in the rest of the lower hull, because once we do, then it's going to get really dark under here. But I like where this is going, and in fact, this area right here, this is where the shuttle bays go. There's two of them on the Cerritos on the saucer section, and I'm going to see them. We're going along our inner ring, our first inner ring. That's where that line is, and I'm literally just going along the border with the gray line. I'm just going to fill all this in. You see I'm going right up to the half slab lip on the edge of the saucer. Now, once I do this, I was hoping I was going to be able to leave the circular, the inner circular hull line there, right underneath this part here, but this is the part that I'm talking about here, but I think I'm going to come back and get rid of that. But right now, let's hop over to the right side, because again, if we do one thing on the left side, we need to do that on the right also. So now we're just going to fill all this in. So far, so good. Been getting a couple of suggestions here and there on builds that people want to see me do. And if there's any ships that you want to see me build on Minecraft, be sure to drop a comment below. Doesn't even necessarily have to be a ship or even Star Trek. It could be anything nerd related. If I'm interested in it and there's enough people asking for it, I'll definitely make an attempt at it. Now see, this is the part where I was talking about. This is our inner ring circle that's going around the entire saucer on the lower side. We're just going to get rid of the half cut there, and we're filling this in. And now we're going to get rid of this white line, because I don't know, it just, that doesn't look right with the white there. It's standing out too much. At the end of the day, if we had colored half slabs, this wouldn't be a problem. I know I'm going to complain about it because I do that all the time, but hey, one of these days, maybe Mojang / Microsoft will listen to the community and finally add that in. There's over 10,000 people that want it on that took the time that went on Minecraft's suggestion page. Just imagine all the other people that haven't even done that. Like, that's something, like, it needs to be in the game. Anyway, make and do what we got. So I'm going to do this without half slabs right there. Excuse me, I was clearing my throat. Really what this is going to come down to, this specific area right here, is if moving this half slab up by one is really going to make that much of a difference. Because really the problem was, and the reason I deleted it is because it's kind of sticking out like a sore thumb. But in order to get that angle right, that half slab has to be there. So that's one of the challenges that I faced, at least during the course of this build. And this is something you'll hear me talk about from time to time, that it's not always going to translate well into Minecraft. You're going to have to make changes. But anyway, you can see I was signaling to this area here. I'm actually about to fill in the center V here. Everything going along this dark gray lip here in the center, we're going to fill that in. All right, perfect. So we hopped into the next part of this video, and now we're going to go around our yellow ring on the underside of our saucer, and we're going to add a row of half slabs. The reason I'm doing this is to soften, you could say, the cut line between the two, not have so much real estate right there. I think I'll actually work out more. But you know, if this is one of those cases where I can get away with using the white half slab, it doesn't look bad. And this is really the only time that I make that exception. Pretty much for this entire build, we're just using concrete blocks, with an exception of the half slabs. I had to extend that out by one. We're going to do the same thing on this right side now. Looking good. So now we're going to continue on adding our half slabs going along the yellow line. And this is also going to help too as you zoom out and look at the ship. This yellow line isn't going to be so bold. It's going to, the shapes will, I think, will flow a little bit better too. So definitely do this on your build, because I think this is going to help make it come out pretty awesome. I was actually really happy with at least the saucer section of the hull. Well, the whole build came out really good. Only area of the build that I personally think I could have done maybe a little bit better was the front side of the engines, but the saucer, all things considered, I think I did a really good job with the building restrictions that you have in Minecraft. Um, I was kind of impressed with what I was able to do, but we're getting there. We've got almost the rest of our lower saucer filled in. We're going to be completing that today. And then in tomorrow's episode, we've got some more work to do on our engines, and then we're going to start working on our corridors before we close in the upper side of our saucer. We'll go into that tomorrow, but definitely starting to mosey on down the line of getting the outside of this thing completed and focusing on the interior. And that's when things start getting really exciting, because then we start moving towards the end of this tutorial and start thinking more and more about the next build, which is the Enterprise D. I can't tell you how excited I am to do this ship. I've been talking about the Enterprise D for a long time, and this is one of the #1 requested ships that I get asked to build all the time, because of how hard this ship is to build. I'm both excited and scared to attempt it. I'm certain I can do it, but we're going to see what happens. So we're going to start working on adding in some lights here, and I'm just going to go along the lip of the yellow. And this is kind of a test. I wanted to see if this is going to work out, adding light on the lower side of the saucer. I've never actually tried it, doing it this way before. This was a first attempt for me. But there are a lot of things with the ship that I'm trying for the first time, especially the shape of it. And this is really, a lot of it's in prep to get ready for the Enterprise D. Even though the Cerritos was another ship, it was one of my top requests to do on Minecraft. So if you requested the Cerritos on my channel, this is for you. And I hope that you enjoy this tutorial series and stick with me, because we're going to be building out this whole thing and go over a lot of useful information that can help you to build your ship out. and little things that you can do. Like an example, what I'm doing right here doesn't look like much, but we're basically hiding our lights because right now we can see them as we're placing them down, but when we put the floor in and everything, they're actually going to be covered. We won't be able to see them from anywhere on the ship, but the light of them is actually going to stick out underneath on the saucer, and it's going to help illuminate that whole area. And I was pretty happy with how that came out, so much so that I'm going to be using that same design cue on my Enterprise D, because Enterprise D has a ton of real estate on the saucer section. It's so huge, and that's just going to be such a dark area, so we're going to need to make sure that that area is well lit, without a ton of candles, torches all over the place, you know? Um, so that was my main reason for wanting to try something new here. But I mean, I guess you'll get it from time to time. I mean, as you go through and you're doing your ships, you're gonna see what works, what doesn't work. Sometimes you're just gonna want to try out new things. And that's just kind of what this is right here. I know where I'm going. I know that end road for this particular project is to build the best next generation class USS, next generation era, I should say, USS Cerritos California class ship I can, in preparation to get me ready to make the Enterprise D. I'm probably going to go down that sideline, the yellow line there too. I want to hop down here and see how it looks and see how well that's illuminated. It looks, it actually reminds me of like an Angel's Halo. Um, but when we get rid of these extra lights here, I think it's going to look pretty good. All right. So that worked out well. Can't go down the straightaways on our hull lines going out to our edge of our saucer. We don't have anything underneath that. So that circle that we just made right around the yellow and then going along the V for the yellow is really the only place that we're going to be able to implement this, because at the end of the day, I didn't necessarily design the saucer to do this, but I think I could probably do that with Enterprise D. So I'm hoping that by the time I roll out to the Enterprise D, I'm going to try to incorporate this type of lighting system in the ship, and on the outside portion of it, I'm hoping that I'll be able to do it in a way where I can have it all over the place, because like I said, I mean, there's a lot of area that's going to be really dark on the Enterprise D underneath it. So I want to try to light that thing up as much as possible. But this is the proof of concept right here, and I definitely like how that came out. So now I've gone ahead and I've switched over to the next portion of the video, the last part of the remaining gap here. I filled it in, and I just did it the same height as our yellow ring right here. Pretty cut forward, just fill it all in with white concrete, and then you'll have that. And now you could say that the majority of our detailing, if not all of it, for our lower part of the saucer is done. We need to make a couple of adjustments now to the pylons. Um, need to add a little bit of thickness to them in the top. So we added 4 rows. I'm going to do the same thing now on the left side. I think that looks pretty good. Definitely looks better than how that looks as of right now. It needed those extra lines, because you want to make something that feels practical. It stays true to the Cerritos, but from what I can see as an artist, looking at this, adding these extra rows right here makes the pylon look stronger. And whether it's structurally, physically makes sense or not, visually it looks stronger. And that's really the only thing that I'm trying to achieve right here. At least for the pylon part of it. So now I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do with the rest of this lighting here. I don't want to lose this dark gray V here. So my solution for this is I'm going to go half slabs, and I'm going to go along the outline of the V, and then we're going to repeat the same process that we just did for the yellow line with the with the sea lanterns, and illuminate this area too. Because we spent all this time getting this detailing in, why would you want to cover it up? So we want that to stick out, and I think it'll look a little bit nicer too. Just want to have some texture, some um, some shapes. You don't want your saucer to look flat. And you can, I found, especially the Federation ships, you can 9 times out of 10 achieve a look that's very close to what it should be by layering. And that's pretty much the simplest explanation that I can make in the process in which I'm doing this saucer. Doing it layer by layer by layer. So in order to do that, you look at your saucer or pull up a screenshot of the U.S.S. CERRITOS and look at it from the side. And you try to envision slope of that going from the edge of the saucer to the center, and how that slopes and how you can transition that into blocks. And the best way to do that is build out a wireframe like we did in the beginning of this tutorial series. So that's one of the reasons why I build out these wireframes a lot, because it helps me to visualize what I'm doing. But it's the skeleton of the ship. It's the starting point. It's so important on so many levels when you're doing your wireframe. And then even adding extra layering right now is so important too, because without this extra layering and this attention to detail, our ship would be dull, plain, and flat. And at the end of the day, it wouldn't look anything like the Cerritos. So we would at that point have failed in trying to make something as close to what it looked like on the show as possible. All things considered, I think we're doing pretty good. I actually haven't had anybody say anything negative about the Cerritos. Usually I probably get like at least one person that doesn't like the builds, but for the most part, all my builds, people are uh, well receptive to, and they seem to like them a lot. But every once in a while, I get one or two. But surprisingly, with the Cerritos, I've gotten no negative comments. So if you're enjoying this tutorial series, let me know in the comments section. Definitely love to hear from you. What are some of your favorite moments from Star Trek Lower Decks? What are some of your favorite areas on the interior of the ship? I think that's a better question, especially since we're going to be heading into the interior of the ship very soon. So I mean, you're going to hear me talking about, now's the time to ask me those areas that you want to see me add before I'm doing it, because once I'm done, or once I've essentially completed it, I've moved on. It's not. It's becomes more and more difficult to make changes once you start planning stuff out, and that's something that I'm all about when I'm doing my ships. I plan them out as much as I can, and sticking with me through this tutorial series and other ones, you'll learn how to do that too. But that's the way to go. The last thing you want to do is come into a ship or build something on this scale and try to wing it from beginning to end, because it's not going to come out great. Especially when you consider the fact that these ships, they're supposed to be able to go to warp speed, do things that aren't humanly possible right now. It's a modern marvel, so they should have a certain look to them, a certain realism to them. Even though it's fake, we still gotta pretend in the sense that it's real and give it that respect. So it's just some of the thinking that I take when I'm making these ships, why I make some of the decisions that I make. Because at the end of the day, if it's certain liberties you can take with it being science fiction, but if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. You gotta make a change. But what we're doing right now, I think this is going to work out great. Adding this lighting system the way we've got it covered, I mean, it's just going to look fantastic. It's going to make the ship look like $1 million with those hidden lights, and I'm really looking forward to incorporating this onto future builds. We are definitely rocking and rolling here. Getting the rest of our lighting along our V shape on the lower side of our saucer. And we've still got about 7 minutes left. We shot through the first 18. But one thing I am curious about, because I've been saying it for a while now, that after I do the Enterprise D, I kind of want to stay in the next gen era of ships for a little while. And the reason for that is because I've done so many ships at this point from Kirk's era. I've done a bunch of different versions of Kirk's Enterprise. And I've done 3 different versions of them. I've done the 2 versions from the Kelvin timeline, and I've done the Discovery Enterprise. Technically 4 if you count the Mock Enterprise too. Um, but even like with the Vengeance and the Kelvin, um, those are all they're within Kirk's era. So I'm excited to do more ships outside of that era. And next gen would probably be, it's such a close second to the point that it's almost a tie with the Shatner movies and show for me. That's how much I like TNG. I want to stay in that part of the universe a little bit longer. So if there's any ships that you want to see me do, that's what I'm getting at. Drop a comment below, because you never know. If I get enough people and interest in that build, then and it's something that I can get behind doing, then I'll definitely do it. Um, but definitely drop a comment, because if you're wanting to see a certain build or you're having trouble, you never know. You never know. Because believe it or not, almost all of my builds on YouTube have been suggestions within the community, and people that take the time to comment have actually given me a lot of cool ideas. Because believe it or not, sometimes people make a suggestion because maybe I didn't do something that turned out the way I wanted it to, and they're not even necessarily knocking me. They're just making a suggestion, and it ends up working out for the best. So you never know. And even while I'm doing this, if there's something that I'm doing that doesn't look right, or if it's out of place, or you feel I could have done it better, or if there's a better idea that you have, let me know in the comments section. Would definitely love to hear from you and talk about that. And also, of course, if there's any builds that you want to see me do in general, let's have a discussion about it. You never know if it's something I might be into. But I definitely like talking about nerd-related stuff. If there's any other shows or movies that you've been checking out, what have you been watching over the course of 2020? Because everybody's been inside um, watching TV. I've personally have watched a lot of Star Trek, and it's kind of funny because I feel like I've seen like every episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation, but I've never watched season 1, episode 1 through season 7. I think was the last season, to All Good Things, the very last episode. Um, and I've been watching it this past year, and like Next Gen was a great show. Like that's to me is like one of the best Star Treks that they've ever put out. Deep Space Nine was right there with it. I love Deep Space Nine, and same thing with Voyager. But what shows have you been watching? Definitely would love to hear from you regarding that. And hey, you never know, if there's stuff within those shows that I could build, drop a comment. So I'm definitely looking for new stuff to do on my YouTube channel, but I don't want you to get discouraged. I'm not going to stop doing ship builds by any means. If anything, definitely going to be doing way more of them indefinitely. There's hundreds of Federation ships out there, and with every single show, movie, and new DLC on Star Trek Online. There's an abundance of content out there, so make sure to send in those suggestions. And you can see right now I'm just getting in my lighting here. Unfortunately, here on the engines, there's really not much that I can do about the lighting to really cover it up. I just, at the end of the day, I didn't plan to light it in the same manner in which I lit the lower side of my saucer section. And I don't think it would be impossible to do, but at the end of the day, it's just going to take a little bit of planning. And I'm going to have to sit down, look at the design that I currently have of the engines, and see if there's a way I can incorporate a lighting system that would be hidden, but it would show through the other side of the wall, just like I was able to do the saucer here. But man, she's looking good, especially now since we got rid of the extra sea lanterns here. This is what the lower side of it's going to look like. And you know, it's not 100% lit everywhere, but it's got just enough lighting to where you can see all the details that matter. And I think that's what really counts, because you want some shadow in there, because shadow gives it character, you know, it helps to bring the ship to life. So don't worry about lighting your ship up as a Christmas tree, because, and I'll give you a perfect example of that. Look at not the new ships now, because I just don't think that they light their ships in realism. I mean, I'm sure that they look better, but if you want a clear example of lighting on a ship, watch documentaries on Star Trek the Motion Picture, Next Generation, those early movies and shows from Star Trek in the 80s and early 90s. Um, there's a reason those ships looked almost real. Yeah, some of the other special effects were something to be desired, but even today when you see those ships, they still look pretty darn close to being real. But at the end of the day, they weren't lit all over the place, but they had enough lighting to give the ship its character. So that's what we're doing right here by adding in this extra lighting here, but not too much to the point that we're getting rid of that shadow there that gives the ship just a little bit of extra character under there. I think it looks great, all things considered. She's definitely looking like the Cerritos. All the characteristics are there. Everything's where it needs to be. It's in the shape it's supposed to be. That's something you can definitely spot out yourself when you're doing these builds yourself. After you do something, zoom out, fly around, take a look at it, see how it looks. Compare that to your reference material. If it doesn't look good, go back and do it again until it comes out the way that you want it to. If it still doesn't come out the way you wanted it after that, just step away from it for a day. Take a couple of days off if you need to, and just come back to it fresh. But the point is take a break and come back at a later time, so this way you're not aggravating yourself over the build. This is the other thing too. I found that Minecraft is a super relaxing game. If it's stressing you out, you're overthinking it. And that can very easily happen on this game. It happens to me sometimes. And I've just found the best thing to do when that happens is just to put the game down, play something else, and come back to it at a later time. Because I'm not kidding, like, I'll be on here and I'll be playing, and like hours fly by, and it feels like it's literally been an hour, and like it's like, man, like my whole Sunday afternoon I've been on here playing Minecraft. What happened to the day? I wonder if that's happened to any of you when you're playing. If it has, let me know in the comments section. But I gotta tell you, I've wasted some time on this game. I've wasted some serious time on this game because, you know, it's super relaxing, and I think it's a great hobby to have, especially in 2021 with everything going on. You need something to take your mind off of things. Build a ship in Minecraft. It will take your mind off of things, and it is just so relaxing. Especially for me, as I've been getting older, I've been finding that it's been getting harder and harder for me to actually relax. And building Minecraft has been a great stress reliever, because when you get older, and it's not like I'm super old or anything, but I'm in my mid 30s at this point. When you start getting older, it gets harder and harder to shut your mind off and stop thinking about things. Maybe not for everybody, but for me anyway. But by doing these ships, it really just helps me to forget about everything for a couple of hours. But anyway, I think that's going to wrap us up today. We've gotten some stuff done. Not a ton of work. Some of this was prep, and some of it was whole detailing, like you've seen. But nonetheless, still very important key parts. Looking at the ship at that angle, even though we've got to do some work on our engines, we've got to close in our upper hull of the saucer. That's the Cerritos, and I'm pretty happy with how she's coming out. If you're enjoying this tutorial, if you like this build, let me know how you feel in the comments section. But I think that's going to wrap it up for me today. I just want to thank everybody very much for tuning in today's video. And be sure, if you're on Twitch, to follow me on twitch.tv/ZeroElite. If you're on my YouTube channel, what are you waiting for? Please head over to my Twitch channel and subscribe. I'm trying to get over 50 subscribers within a month. If you can help me out and do that and start watching my videos, please do. And if you've been asking me to do Twitch streams, this is for you, because this is a great opportunity for you to get access to ask me questions in real time while I'm doing these videos. And in fact, you can catch my Twitch streams Sundays through Thursdays. And those streams will typically drop between 9 and 10 p.m. Eastern. Um, Also, if you're on Twitch, don't forget to follow me on my YouTube channel. You can follow me on youtube.com/C/0Elite. What are you waiting for? Please check out my YouTube channel. I've got a ton of videos. I put videos out Monday through Friday. And in fact, you can catch my new Starship Evo builds on Mondays. And you can catch my Minecraft videos Tuesdays through Fridays. And all those videos on Minecraft on YouTube drop at 10 a.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday. But anyway, that's going to wrap it up for me. Just want to thank you again for tuning in today's videos. If you have any questions, drop them down below in the comments section. What do you want me to build? Drop them in the comments section. Hope everybody has a happy and safe week, and I'll catch you on the next episode.